Hello and good morning. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this Princess Mononoke inspired handbag. Just a disclaimer, this is not a purist crochet project. There are elements of embroidery, there are felt embellishments, there's plastic canvas, there's sewing, either by hand or by machine. The handle here is a ribbon, which is obviously not crochet. So there are a lot of textile elements here. I would not classify this as a beginner-friendly tutorial. I would recommend trying this out when you are a little bit more intuitive and comfortable with the craft, and I would definitely say this is intermediate level. And with all that out of the way, we can get into the materials you'll need for this project. I'm using acrylic worsted weight yarn in the colors white, red, and black, 1 sheet of plastic canvas, 2 sheets of felt, a light brown and a black sheet, about half a yard of scrap fabric of your choice, a sharp metal yarn needle, a zipper, fabric scissors, regular craft scissors, a needle and thread, optionally hot glue for later. For the handle, I personally opted for a sash of ribbon. I used a variety of crochet hooks, but primarily a 4.5mm. And lastly, if you so choose, some very fluffy white yarn for fur. Our project begins with a magic circle or a magic ring, chaining 2 and putting 8 half double crochet into the circle. Throughout the pattern, the chain 2s do not count as a stitch. And that's round 1. For round 2, you're going to slip stitch into your original chain 2 again, and then you're going to put an increase into each stitch in the round. So you're going to have a total of 16 half double crochets, making up round 2. And then round 3, similar process, we're chaining 2 after we slip stitch into the original 2, and then we're going to increase every 2 stitches rather than every stitch for a total of 24 stitches in round 3. Moving on to round 4, again, slip stitch into the previous, chain 2, and then this time increasing every 3 stitches. If you would like a step-by-step on how this process is done, I would recommend checking out a more thorough circle tutorial, but for this case, we're just going to continue this pattern until you reach round 12. And at that point, you should have around 100 stitches, or if you're following along exactly, you'll have 104. Now, as you can see, I've already done my second panel, but you are going to need 2 panels, and I'm putting a final round of half double crochet all the way around this panel, so that's round 13, no increases whatsoever, and that'll just give it a nice thick border around the edge. And there you go, with the completion of this final half double crochet round, your first panel is complete. So at this point, you can go ahead and fasten off and create your second one. Ensure that when you create your second panel, it is as close to the first in size as possible. So I'm just taking the prettiest of the 2 panels and I'm delegating this to be the front of the mask. I also have an image pulled up on Google of Sans mask to ensure that my reference is accurate. I would recommend doing the same. And as you can see here, I'm just outlining the mask in French chalk. So this is totally optional, but I personally apply a layer of hot glue before embroidering to create this kind of raised effect, and it also helps me plan out where the embroidery is going to go. Keep in mind that right now we're only embroidering these white curvy lines across Sans mask. And then now we just embroider right over that hot glue outline, which in my opinion is the most fun part of the process. So when you're done embroidering these lines, you can start cutting out your eye holes. Obviously, you're going to be cutting the brown felt circles larger and the black felt circles about half the size. So don't freak out, I am not hot gluing these down. I am only using the hot glue to again create an embossed effect, and I'm putting it around where I want that brown ring to go. Then I'm threading some black yarn, placing the brown felt circle first, the black felt circle after, and then sewing both layers of felt down onto my red crochet base. As you can see, I am just stitching around the circumference of the small black circle and leaving the brown circle unsecured for now. We're going to repeat this process for the eye holes and make sure to include those darts that go in the corner of the eye holes, as is reflected in San's mask. At this point, all of your face holes should be secured to the mask, so go ahead and pull out your red yarn and thread that yarn needle one more time. And we're going to secure down the circumference of those brown felt circles. This is a great opportunity to shave away at the thickness of that brown if there are certain spots that are too thick. Do your best to minimize the number of mistakes you make while doing this, because pulling needles back out of felt is, in my experience, a real big pain in the butt. Yay, you did it! Good job! Or at least I think you did. You might be watching this while you're doing your laundry. I don't know. Now you can get your plastic canvas ready. So you're going to want to cut a circle out that is about 2 centimeters smaller in diameter than your mask. So we cut that using our craft scissors, but you can pull out your fabric scissors as well, because then we're going to work on the fabric lining. This time you're going to make the fabric lining circle a little bit bigger than your plastic canvas circle and cut that out. I was lucky enough that I was cutting double-lined fabric, so I ended up with 2 circles and only 1 cut. However, most fabric is not double-lined, so you're going to want to cut this circle out twice. And now we get to work on the ears. I created a little template for consistency. I would recommend creating one yourself. You can pause and copy mine if you'd like. So just cut around the template twice and ta-da! You have your ears. Now these ears need to get covered in threads so that they match the color of the mask. I am demonstrating this visually, so try and follow along as best you can. Pull your threaded needle up through the bottom right hole in your plastic canvas. Tuck the tail behind and find the halfway point in your ear, then pull the needle up through that halfway point once again, and then stick the needle in through the spot that you first entered the plastic canvas in and thread it out. And then you're going to repeat this up a row, so you have this nice clean little line that just gets repeated all the way up. So come up through the bottom right, go to the halfway point, come up again, tucking the thread behind the edge of the plastic canvas, and then grab your needle and put it right back through the place that you entered in first. You're going to repeat this pattern all the way up one vertical half of the ear, more specifically the half that you want to be facing outwards, and then thread your needle with black yarn and you will thread the half of the ear that faces inwards, and this is all just the same pattern repeated over and over. As you can see here, I have finished the red half of the ear, so I am just kind of weaving the end of my thread through, and then I'll tie a little knot and I will cut it off so that it is relatively secure. Just a reminder to delegate an inward and outward on your ears so that they are symmetrical. Yay! I'm not sure if you completed your ears or completed your laundry, but either way, I am proud of you. So now we're going to be placing the front pretty side of the ears on the back side of the untouched red circle panel, and we're going to be attaching them in that order as demonstrated on screen. Now we're getting to the really fun part, which is assembly. So this is the point where we're going to use that lining fabric we cut earlier, and I will be using a sewing machine to hem my circles first, and then I'm using a sewing machine to attach it to the back panel, but I do hand sew it to the front panel, so you'll be able to see what that looks like. The order here is mask on the bottom, then plastic canvas in the middle, and lining fabric on top. And then we are hand sewing that sandwich all together, and oh my gosh, look how amazing this looks. So let's fasten off, tie our ends. I'm weaving them in with a crochet hook. Not before admiring this first, of course. And now we're going to move on to a bit of a tricky element, so pay attention as well as you can. My red zipper is 14 inches long and it covers a little bit more than half of the circumference of my bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a strip of plastic canvas that is the same width as the zipper and covers the rest of the circumference so the zipper does not cover of the bag. So basically when the zipper and the canvas are attached to the circumference of the bag, it'll give it a nice little inch of height. But attaching the canvas is tricky, so I'm just going to show you and try and follow along. First, I'm putting down clips to hold the whole thing together so it doesn't move around too much. And then we're just gonna shove that little piece of plastic canvas in between the two layers. Then shove your needle in up through the bottom and hope for the best. The goal right now is just to get everything stuck together and to get it to stop moving around while we handle it. Organized, uniform stitching, which I do have a method for that I will show you, will come later, but for now, just try and get everything to be held together properly. I'm not going to speed up this section at all because I want to try and help anyone who doesn't get it, but if you get it and if your bag is secure and you've got the first couple of stitches in there, feel free to skip so that you can see the method to making sure that it looks nice and neat. We're looking secure so we can begin to stitch with intention. We're going to be working in columns from right to left. So start in the right column bottom slot, poke your needle through, up behind the plastic canvas, and then up through the rightmost stitch in your circle panel. Then you're going to come around the front of the plastic canvas and go back into the slot that you initially poked your needle into. And that is literally it. It's just these two steps over and over again. Watch closely, follow along, you will get the hang of it. Keep in mind that when you're coming back down and when you're going up, both ways, your needle is going to poke through not only the plastic canvas, but it will also poke through the stitches on the top and bottom red circle panels. Once there is no more exposed plastic canvas, you can poke your needle back to the inside of the bag, fasten off, tie your little ends, and then we're going to be attaching the zipper just using a standard old needle and thread. I feel like this is common knowledge and pretty easy to find tutorials on how to do this online, so I'm just going to breeze right past this step. it is fluff time. So attaching the fluff is really, really simple. I'm just going to be running the fluffy yarn through stitches around the circumference of the back of the bag. I just pull it through, I do a little slip knot, and then I cut it off, and I make sure that they're all even in size. My biggest tip for you would be to shake the life out of these fluffies. Pull all the fluffies out of the fluff that you can and get it to shed all while you're crafting so that it doesn't shed all over you when you actually use your purse. But look how good it looks! Okay, we are so close to being done. This is exciting. I attach my handles using little rubber bands. I put the rubber bands in through where I want the handles to go. I slip knot them around the stitches, and then I tie the ribbon to those slip knots. It has never come undone for me. It handles a lot of weight, and what I like about it is that it is temporary. I could take off the handle. This could have a different handle, a different ribbon, or it could even serve as a pillow, and that's what I really like about this method. And yeah, see, take my advice. Look at all these fuzzies that I'm peeling off myself. That is it, my friends. If you made it to the end, I'm so grateful for you. If you make this, I would love to see your creation more than anything. That is all I have for you today. Thank you for your support, and I will see you very soon.